Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Coffee with Katie. Some cold brew concentrate and cold foam today. Just trying to make a fancy coffee at home today. Today's video is going to be my February reading wrap up, which thankfully I was able to get all of the books that I wanted to read in February, but there were quite a few, so let's just go ahead and get into it so I can give you my thoughts on them. The first book that I read in February is Where the Library Hides by Isabel Ibanez. This is Secrets of the Nile Book 2. This is the last book of the duology following Kit and Inez. This is the kind of mummy-esque, the movie The Mummy, and archaeological discovery series, but it's also fantastical. So this book, if you're going into it thinking it's going to be really high fantasy, that's not the case. It's historical fantasy, but the magic is very, very small. It's magical objects, but the magic itself is not super prevalent. It's just a couple of objects here and there will be magical. So I feel like you kind of have to manage your expectations when you think of a historical fantasy. But I really liked this duology. Thought I would maybe like book 2 more, and I think maybe I did a little bit. But I really liked both books a lot. And I thought the way that just the drama of the relationship, some of it was a little bit over the top maybe, but I liked the drama. I liked the resolutions. I liked that, sometimes resolutions don't happen and people are bad people. I liked the treasure hunter / archaeological protection aspects and how the treasure hunters are kind of ruthless and cutthroat like you would see in thievery and different things, and the archaeological society wants to protect things. I liked all of those elements of the story. I liked the dynamics between Kit and Inez. I really liked it. I think I can't tell you a whole lot about the second book, obviously, but from what I could gather, it felt like a lot of people didn't like the second book as much. I found myself really enjoying it. I think because it messed with my emotions so much and I was so invested in the characters and what was going to happen that I was just kind of there and along for the ride. I think when a book can make me care and can make me upset, it means that I'm hooked. If I really care about the resolution of the relationships between the characters and just different things like that, if I find myself really invested and really oh, what's going to happen? It seems like that's when I really love a book or really like a book. And I was invested in this. Did I say Kit? I said Kit this whole time. Whitford Hayes is his name. Whit, not Kit. Mixing it a little bit with powerless. I really love Whit. Despite his choices. I've kind of felt bad for Inez, but was also kind of really frustrated with her, that she chose to trust the people she did. And so many people were just betraying her and lying to her, and I think she just needed something to cling to. So I think I'm gonna say that's why she made the decision to trust the people she did. It was frustrating, and you're just kind of no! But it's okay. I am surprised with how much I liked this one, but I found myself really enjoying it. I really loved this duology as a whole, and would recommend you read it if it's something you're interested in. And I gave it 4.5 stars. There's not a whole lot to say about this one. I also read a short picture book. It's an adult picture book, but picture book nonetheless, from NetGalley to review. And I believe it's supposed to come out in April, but it's You're Not a Real Dog Owner Until by Scott Dooley and Jason Chatfield. This was just kind of a funny, silly, you're not a dog owner until you've had to chase down your dog and been what are you eating? Just silly things like that. And I just really wanted to read it, and I thought it was cute, funny, and relatable, and I gave it 4 stars. And then I read Dungeons and Drama by Christy Boyce. This is book 1 in the Dungeons and Drama series. And I wanted to read this because it's a D&D YA romance, and I just thought that would be super cute. And the whole thing is centered around the characters playing D&D. And this was really cute. I enjoyed the D&D and the musical theater elements because the main female character, the musical theater performer, nerd, whatever you want to say, in her high school, and she gets in trouble because she made a bad decision, and so as punishment she has to work at her father's game shop where they sell lots of types of board games, all kinds of games, and dice, and where her coworker also plays D&D. She thinks he's kind of lame and nerdy, but she decides to play D&D with them because they have a deal where her ex-boyfriend comes around and is kind of oh, I'm so sorry, he's so pitiful, and she wants to show him that she's over it and okay. So she pretends to like this boy that plays D&D at the shop, and this boy plays D&D with a girl that kind of doesn't really notice him, and so he's they make this mutual agreement to pretend to fake like each other to make the others either go away or jealous. And during that, obviously things can come up. So they play D&D together and it's just really cute. Like I said, I like the D&D and musical theater elements of this. I found myself really caring about if Riley and Nathan would get together and would be good together. I enjoyed the combo of all of the characters, because it's not just them obviously playing D&D. There's a lot of characters involved and I liked a lot of them. Overall, it was a cute and sweet and fast read. I liked that it was set in a game shop as well. Just everything about this was just kind of cozy and fun and different. And I really liked it and wanted to continue the series. I ended up giving that 4 stars and I did continue the series. We'll get to that in a minute. But the next book that I read was Her Night in the Museum by Bryn Donovan. I was really hoping, this is like, she works in a museum in Chicago and she works with like restoring statues and stuff. And the statue of this knight, he was magically cursed and she kisses the statue and he comes to life. I was hoping this was going to be kind of like a Kate and Leopold situation, but I found that's not really what it was, which is okay, but therefore the book kind of disappointed me. It wasn't quite what I had expected, and the first half of the book I felt a little disappointed, honestly, because it seemed to focus more on spice than anything else, and that's not really what I wanted. The second half, though, I liked all right, I think, because it got a little bit more into the plot of the missing statue, because he came to life, and how he would actually be able to function in the modern world. I thought that was kind of interesting. I feel like a lot of authors do gloss over those facts of it, and she didn't. She kind of like brought them up, so I thought that was cool. Like, I appreciated that the author took the time to talk about the fact that he would need like hundreds of years of vaccines because he was frozen in time before all of those things existed. So she's like, oh my gosh, he needs a polio vaccine. And it's like, oh yeah, he does. Like, it's just not really something you think about when I've read these books before. Maybe it's been done before, but I just haven't read one. So I did appreciate that she brought those elements back into it. Overall, it was fine, but it wasn't exactly what I was hoping it would be and what I was hoping for. And then I read, back to the Dungeons and Drama series, I read Dating and Dragons by Christy Boyce. This is book 2 in that series, and it was also very fun. And I actually messaged the author and was like, are there more of these? And she's like, yes, there's one coming out next year, I think she said. Excited. And this one is about a girl who moves to a different school because at her previous school, she was a part of a D&D group, but her friends kind of, through dramatic events, her friends turn on her and she like loses all of her friend group. And so they move towns, for kind of unrelated reasons, but also for her. And she gets to be closer to her grandmother, so they move closer to her grandmother. She starts at a new school, and she meets this cute boy, and she finds out that this cute boy is a part of a D&D group and makes a friend with this other girl that's a part of the D&D group. And she wants to play, but she doesn't want the drama of her last group. But then she finds out that they actually live stream all of their games, like Critical Role. And she's a little bit intimidated, but also willing to do it. But then they also tell her about the rules that they have because they're a very serious group and they film everything, so they have to be a little bit more serious. And there's a no dating rule, and maybe that will come up at some point. I really like these little cute YA D&D romances. I just think they're really fun. They're fun, sweet, cute, have cool little gaming elements. My dog's having a play date, so I just had to close the blinds a little bit. This one in particular, I really appreciated and liked the wholesome and humorous elements that were thrown into it. I thought that was very, very cute. The pickleball scene was a nice touch, and it was really funny. Like, I found myself laughing a lot. The way it was written was really funny. I will absolutely read more of this series. I've been loving them so far, and I gave that one 4 stars as well. And then I read The Rose Bargain by Sasha Payton Smith. And we're not going to get into this one a whole lot because I've already put up a review about my thoughts on this book, but I loved this. I thought I would like it, but I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It's what I wanted the selection to be. It was just so, so good to me. It's essentially in a world where the queen in this historical England is an immortal fae, and she does like the season, that like Bridgerton, where you're like trying to find a husband. They do the season every year, and every year they make rose bargains with the queen, which is where they ask her for something magical and she grants it for a cost. And this year, if you choose to like enter in this competition, you can be potentially chosen by the prince, the Fae Prince. So our main character kind of goes into this because her family's on the verge of being ruined, and so she thinks she has nothing to lose, and this would potentially help them. So that's a very short synopsis of this story, but it was so good. I really appreciated this and loved it a lot. But if you want to hear more in-depth thoughts, you can go ahead and check out that review. And then I read Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. This was one of my anticipated releases because I've been really enjoying Ali Hazelwood's writing. However, I'm not sure how I felt about this one. I do like the setting. The setting is like a collegiate athlete where one of them is a diver and one of them is a swimmer. And they're like competing in the Olympics and doing all those types of things, which is fun. I liked that part of the setting. I don't think this story is necessarily for me. I felt very torn about this book. On the one hand, the spicy scenes were just kind of not for me. And some of them were actually kind of triggering that I didn't like. And I think that's a very me thing. I'm not sure a lot of other people would be necessarily triggered by it. But on the other hand, like I said, I really liked the setting of this book. And I liked the two main characters. I was also kind of able to strangely relate to the female main character with her mental block and struggles with that. I really appreciated that story arc. And I think if the spicy scenes had been removed entirely, I think I would have really liked this book, which is weird to say because all Ali Hazelwood's books are romances, right? This is a little bit of different vibe with Ali Hazelwood's writing than I'm used to. And so I think it felt a little bit jarring. And it's not a bad thing, but it is different. It's not as humorous. It still was funny and had some humorous elements, but it's not as humorous. It's a little darker. You can read more about this in the synopsis, but it's just a little bit of a different vibe that clashed with me a little. But I still really like her writing. This book just kind of wasn't the one for me, and I ended up giving it 3 stars. And then I read, this is kind of a surprise, but I was able to just read it really quickly in between some stuff. I read We Will Be Heroes by Megan McLeod. This is book 2 in the Vigil and Anti-Files. This is the second book in the duology, so this wraps up the duology. This is kind of like an indie book that I read a long time ago. The first one was We Could Be Villains, and I really, really loved that. I liked this one, but not as much. It's kind of following, like, if the Marvel Universe was in our everyday society and they were actually superheroes, but the media covered it up as movie stunts. So I really liked the setup of that, and I've talked about the first book and like have a review of the first book up, I think, but I liked this one, not as much as the first one. I think it's hard to end stories, and I think the author wanted to wrap up a lot in a short amount of time. And I liked the story overall, but I wasn't as invested or in love with this one as I was with the first one. I still like the duology. I still like the superhero story and elements. I still liked some of the things that come out in the story. Like there's a character, and if you listen to the audiobook, he's got like a distorted voice, which is a really cool effect, and it makes sense for the character, the villainous character that he is. It was a little bit like meh, but overall I still really like this story, and I think if you are a big Marvel person or you really like superhero stories, that you should read this duology. I gave it 4 stars, if I didn't say that already. And then I read and finished Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. This is book 3 in the Emily Wilde series, and I believe it is the final book, so this wraps up the whole series, which is crazy to think about. I loved this series. I still really liked this book and how it ended, but I'm sad that it's over. I love the academic feel and following Emily, who, while being curious, but also so logical and so nonsense. Like, I just love the blend of that in her character. She's an interesting character, and the juxtaposition of her and Wendell is really cute and fun, and I just really enjoy their dynamics and the way that Heather Fawcett writes this. I just love the world and kind of in love with the story and the world and the characters, so I'm sad that it's ended. But I also really appreciate the humorous elements that she brings into these stories and how she can make me laugh. This world was so fun, and I just really loved the journey. Can't tell you much about the third book, obviously, but I did give it 4 stars. And then I read The Forest King's Daughter by Ellie Blake. This is book 1 in the Thirstwood series. This is the author that wrote Frostblood. And I was really looking forward to it, and I did like this, but I felt myself being a little bit confused or torn with this one as well. You're following a girl who, there's like the forest fairies? I don't really know. Forest people, forest magical beings, and there's these demons that live underground, and the girl of the forest and the boy of the demons make a friendship at night in the woods. He gives her this ring that he thinks is kind of unimportant, but he wants to give her something because she's important to him, and then it legitimately starts a war, and he tries to get the ring back, but he can't, and there's like magical elements involved with it. And then they grow up, and he becomes an adult and tries to take her so that he can get the ring to save his people because it can hurt demons. And they have to go on this journey to kind of figure out how they're going to resolve this situation. And there's some romance. I liked this book, and I found the world really interesting. There was just, I don't know, just something a little off about the pacing or the plot. Like, there's something that I can't really put my finger on, but it just made me not love it. I can't really decide what it was, but I just felt like something was missing to make me love it and to make me so invested in the story. I did really like the main characters. And I'm curious to see how the plot would develop over multiple books because a lot of it seemed to kind of wrap up in this book. But it does say Thirstwood Book 1. So I'm curious to see what else could develop. And maybe she did it because she didn't know how well the story would go or something, but I just felt like the storyline kind of wrapped up, or she wrote it in a way where it could be wrapped up. I'm not really sure where it would go from there. There was a couple of things that happened that I just felt like, why was that necessary? So I don't know. I liked it, but I didn't love it like I loved Frostblood. So we'll see. I do want to continue, and I think it's good, and I think people will like it. As for now, I'm not sure how I feel about it. And then I read Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is book 2 in the Powerless trilogy, and I was kind of curious to see how the story was going to continue because I really, really liked Powerless. And then I decided to go ahead and pick up Reckless since Fearless is coming out in like April, I think, May, soon. So I feel like people either love the first one, hate the second one, or vice versa. And I didn't hate it, but I feel like I'm in the camp of this wasn't as good to me as Powerless. I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. I didn't like this one as much as the first one, but like I said, I hear that that's common to like one more than the other. The cliffhanger is crazy and odd. There's like a point where I'm just sitting there like, why would that happen in the story, you know? And maybe it's literally the very end of the book, so maybe we'll find out in book 3 kind of the reason for that. But I want to know why it went that way. So I'm gonna have to wait until book 3 to figure that out. I just don't... This felt more like a second book syndrome situation where it's like more of a journey and there's a little bit of character and plot development, but a lot of it is just like the journey to get to book 3. So I think that's why some people liked it, because if you enjoyed the journey, you would probably all about it, but if you don't enjoy the journey, you're just like, where's book 1? I did like it, didn't hate it or anything like that, but not as much as book 1, but I am excited to see book 3 and how the trilogy wraps up, and hopefully I like it. And the last book that I read in February, literally finished it at like 11 p.m. on the 28th, was one of my most anticipated books of the year, and that was The Otherwhere Post by Emily J. Taylor. This is the same author as Hotel Magnifique, and she does these kind of like standalone books, and I've really, really loved them. And there's something about this author's works that I just enjoy, but let me hold off on that. I ended up giving this 4.5 stars. You're following a character who is a part of the world where scriptomancy is the magic system, so you can write things and you can imbue them with magic and certain elements, and then things can happen. And a lot of it could just be with letter writing, so they like have these special couriers that can go into other worlds and doorways and just like will appear when they say their name and whatnot, and you can deliver letters to people, but you can also cross worlds. But something happened and another world had this like blight that was unleashed upon it, and so it's dangerous to go there, and it killed a bunch of people that they blame the main character's father for. She is hiding her identity because she knows if people find out that they'll kind of like ostracize her. It's been affecting her life since she was very small and her father died. But then she gets a letter mysteriously in the mail one day that says her father is innocent, and so she tries to go into the Otherwhere Post to study scriptomancy and be in the Otherwhere Post school, learn how to be like a courier, but she's really just doing it to learn the secrets that they may be hiding and what actually happened with her father and this blight that was unleashed on the world. I really like this author's works. I like the way she writes things. This is my second read by her, like I said, and I just really enjoy her writing style. I enjoy how she can bring so many magical elements, but also mix them with sinister elements, and how she brings that to the books. Always just really cool magical elements or magic systems, but then there's also a lot of danger in it, or just danger around the characters, with the blend of which that I just really enjoy. I like the characters in this. I like the ending, even though I felt like something about it was just kind of a little off to me from what I thought it would be, but I still really enjoyed it. I love the scriptomancy magic. I think that was really cool, and there's just a lot of different things that can go with. Like, if they write a letter and they imbue it with magic, you can, like, put memories in it, or emotions, and you can make them feel this stuff. You can also put in, like, I don't even know what it's called necessarily, but like a curse, and you can write it. You can write a letter, and then when they're finished reading it, it could kill them or attack them, or there's just a lot of really interesting elements with the ink and the scriptomancy that I really, really enjoyed. And I think this author's works are so cool, and it bothers me that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about her or the first book, Hotel Magnifique. So let me just tell you to read this one as well. I really enjoy her writing. She's a YA author, so if you're looking for a bunch of spice, this isn't it. But I love her writing. It's magical, it's dangerous, it's exciting. Give it a shot if it sounds interesting to you. Those are all of the books that I was able to read in February. It was a pretty good month. I had a lot of fun with some of them. A lot of it was just cozy and silly and fun. And now I'm looking forward to diving into a lot more dragony books in March. Please comment down below and let me know what your favorite read of February was. I would love to know. But for now, that is it for today's video. Please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and caffeinated. Bye.